Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So, before we dive into today's episode, which is really just going over all things Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16, we are going to get into it. We're going to talk about the Kenya of it all, the Brit of it all. Whose side are you on? As you come into the room, be sure to put it down below. Are you on Kenya's side, Brit's side, nobody's side? The Shamea versus Porsha of it all. Whose side are you on? Porsha, Shamea, Porsha versus Drew. Drew or Porsha? Put it down below. And what do you think of the new girls? What do you think of Brit and Kelly and Angela? And all of it. So we're going to get into it. So before we do that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. It is a fun and easy way to support me and the show, and I'd really appreciate it. So with that, let's go. So first up, I'm going to play a clip of, I believe it's Giorgio Says on TikTok, and he kind of breaks down what happened between Kenya and Brit. And he also brings in a little bit more of Kenya's side to it. You know, Kenya was invited to the reunion, then she was disinvited. So she had to go on YouTube and sort of do her own sort of YouTube confessional talking about everything. But he really breaks it down. So I'm going to show that clip now, again, as Giorgio Says on TikTok. And then I'll say what I think and what I think is really going on, because I agree with some of it. And I think that some of it is also wrong, just on my opinion. So I want to know what you guys think. So let's all listen together.
Well, sad that Kenya has to go this route to have to give her side of the story, because boy, oh boy, did she spill. Kenya covered it all, or as much as she could, in this 31-minute YouTube video where she goes through everything. She even goes through taking accountability and explaining things that she's seeing across the internet. And she addressed everything from pulling Lisa's chair on that one season to the infamous thing that everyone keeps bringing up where she's in her closet with her friend Brandon and she's talking jokingly about this pew, and then we see it on camera and how that's way different than what she experienced with Brit. She also says that she was initially invited to attend the reunion and then was disinvited. So it's clear, based on what we've been watching play out on the show and what Kenya talks about in her More Confessionals video, is that there was a lot cut out, and there's definitely a narrative that they want to keep at the network, which is why I think that she's burnt this bridge with Bravo at this point, and we may not see her again on Bravo. Nonetheless, the issue here is that Kenya details that Brit was going really hardcore that night, and of course, we only saw just a snippet of that, so imagine what we didn't see. But Kenya says that at one point, Brit did look at her and said, "I keep pew-pews for chiz like you." And I've said this in another video, but it's like, hey, if I went into my job and I went up to a coworker and was like, "You know what, Joe? That's why I keep pew-pews for coworkers like you," I would absolutely be out of a job. So yeah, it was a bit perplexing to know that Kenya that very night went to the showrunner and said, hey, what's going on here? She's threatening me with a pew-pew and I'm not comfortable. I don't know this girl. And another good point that was brought up was, you did an investigation, but you didn't check anything that night. At least from her POV, she says nothing was done to say like, okay, well, if that's pretty serious, we need to check your car, we need to check your handbag, what's going on here? And let's be crystal clear, that does not equate to what Kenya did at her hair salon opening as like a justified approach. She even says she understands wholeheartedly that that was a huge mistake on her part. But what she's not going to take accountability for is this narrative that Brit really ran with, which was, oh, Kenya, pretty much did revenge PORN, when in fact, Kenya says these photos are still in the corners of the internet that anybody could find. So whatever scrubbing Brit did, she missed a few spots. And to be clear, Kenya says they're still on the internet right now. And I've also been uncovering a ton of lies, just based week to week on what Brit says on the show. And so, yeah, I do lean towards they clearly didn't want to deal with Kenya anymore. Brit overpromised that she would come for Kenya. Kenya didn't try anything because Kenya's point was, I wanted to come in this season and be like the bigger sister, the mentor for the newbies. And in fact, we saw Kenya did nothing to Brit, and Brit can't even say what really got her there. She just keeps saying that she was being hazed or Kenya was just giving her this weird energy. And Kenya's also right about another thing. Had that threat been posed on any other franchise, Orange County, Beverly Hills, New York, New Jersey, Miami, Brit would not be on the show anymore. So this is really backwards to me. I think the flaw here, though, is that Kenya took the approach she did, and unfortunately, the narrative got spun out of her control and left her in the dark, which is why she's on YouTube telling us what her version of the story is. But do you think Kenya should be able to go to the reunion? Let me know.
Okay, you guys. So he kind of broke it down to give both perspectives from Brit and from Kenya. And now I'm going to break down what I agree with and what I don't agree with. And I want you guys to put it in the chat box below. First, let me know, do you think Kenya should be allowed to go to the reunion? I personally think she should be able to go to the reunion, give her side of the story. At the end of the day, what she did was very distasteful. I do think it was the right call to no longer have her film the show after what she did, but she didn't do anything violent. So I don't know why she physically couldn't show up at the reunion. We've had housewives physically fight each other and still show up at reunions together. We've had Porsha fight Kenya at a reunion of Real Housewives of Atlanta. They got into a physical altercation, the two of them, and they still have gone on to be co-stars on upcoming on various seasons. So I don't see why Kenya couldn't come to the reunion because of this. Now, where I disagree with the narrative that behind the scenes prior to the season, there's this sort of theory going around that Bravo and Andy no longer wanted to deal with Kenya, and so they kind of wanted a reason to take her out of the show and take her down, and that they were sort of feeding Brit, like, you need to be the one to go against Kenya. Brit overpromised and was like, I will take her down, and that was the reason why Brit came in so hot against Kenya when Kenya really didn't do anything to Brit. I don't think that's true. I think that if Bravo and Andy wanted Kenya gone, they just wouldn't have brought her back. I just think they wouldn't have brought her back. What I think happened between these two women is in the title of this video. I think it was deep-rooted insecurity. That's why Giorgio's like, even Brit can't even say why she came in hot, because I don't think Brit is self-aware enough and is conscious enough of what her motivating factors are to realize the reason why no matter what Kenya said to her, she was going to take it some type of way was because she felt insecure. I think Brit, at the end of the day, was probably a fangirl of Kenya. Probably wanted to be her bestie, wanted to wear her skin, wanted to be, accepted and validated by Kenya. But when you are like that and you come from a place of insecurity, of not feeling good enough or lack, you will take anything the person that you idolize does to you as a slight. Like, girl, Brit, you weren't wearing your wedding band. You look like you were engaged, not married. If you only wear your engagement ring, but you don't wear your wedding band, the logical assumption is that you are engaged. So the fact that Kenya was like, oh, are you engaged, not married? You're not wearing your, you don't have a band on. That's normal. That's literally just societal norms. You're not wearing a wedding band, babe. Like, the fact that you thought she was throwing shade at you was whack and weird. I'll get to her alleged marriage in a second. Maybe she's not really married. Maybe they're not. I don't know. We've had fake marriages. We've had fake relationships on shows before. Maybe that's why it was a trigger. Maybe that's why she's not wearing a wedding band. I'm not saying that's true. Everything in this video is alleged for entertainment purpose only, but who knows why that was such a trigger for her. And at the party, when Kenya came in, kind of gave her like a normal air kiss, she was doing whatever, whatever the case may be, Brit took it way too far. Again, I think it's because of her own insecurity, and she's probably idolized Kenya for a very long time. And that's what led to it going all the way left. And I'll get to what I think I'll get to what I think is really going on with Bravo and Kenya in a second. So I think the reason why Brit came so hard for Kenya wasn't because a producer told her to. I think it was out of her own insecurity. Now, when it comes to Kenya, okay. I also think Kenya was working out of her own insecurity, not because she feels insecure about Brit specifically, but I think she was feeling insecure, she's becoming a woman of a particular age, she's divorced, single mom, or co-parenting mom, and throwing all this money into this, brick and mortar hair care spa. We all know those places are, unless you have a lot of money to burn, you're going to burn through a lot of money before you make a profit, usually with brick and mortar. So who knows what's going on with that? She's already stressed out. Mark played the hell out of her, and then you have these younger girls coming in on the show, unclear about, finances, position on the show, younger girls coming in, you're getting older. I think Kenya already had a lot of stuff going on with her. And I also think she probably had her own insecurities going on about a lot of stuff, because you have to be a little bit out of your mind to have literally gone to Kinko's or to Staples or whatever the hell she went and literally find and print out posters of another woman that you don't even really know like that. I get the pew pew situation, and I'm going to get to that, but you don't do all of that. Like, that took a lot of work. You don't hire someone to go on the internet and sleuth. You don't do the big printouts on your big day. You said you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this brick and mortar, allegedly for your daughter. You are worried about not having clients, people not getting in the door. It's literally your launch party. The whole event should have only been you promoting your business. And you spend the entire afternoon with blowups of somebody else in actual X-rated positions. Kenya, you lost your damn mind. And only someone who is going through something that has literally nothing to do with Brit. I get the pew pew, but that has nothing to do with Brit. That is acting out in a way that is a cry for help. That is a level of self-sabotage that something deeper is going on with you. Because Kenya could have clapped back at Brit in a million different ways at a million different times, but she chose to do it so publicly on the one day that literally should have been about her. There's something deeper going on. So I think both of these women are going through their own insecurities, maybe their own trauma, maybe something else going on with them, and they're projecting it onto each other. Because Brit's reaction to Kenya, out of pocket, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, does not make sense. And Kenya's reaction to Brit, also cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, out of pocket, and does not make sense. I think that these are two individual women who are deeply insecure and projecting and lashing out in crazy wackadoodle ways. Because Kenya could have got Brit anytime, any place, anywhere. The way she did it and where she did it was whack as hell. Now, the pew pew situation in Bravo. This is what I think is actually going on with that. Like I said, I don't believe the theory that Bravo and Andy didn't want Kenya on the show, and so they got in Brit's ear to take down Kenya. That doesn't make any sense. I think that when Brit was going off about the pew pew, that's why I have pew pew for bees like you. I do think Kenya had every single right to be upset, and I think that she went to the showrunner or one of the producers and voiced her concerns, and I don't think they took Kenya seriously. I don't think they took Brit seriously. I don't think they took the fight or the situation seriously. It wasn't physical violence. Again, and trust me, I'm not saying that what Brit said wasn't horrible. It was horrible, and it was violent. Verbal violence is violence. Emotional violence is violence. I'm saying what I think Bravo producers thought. I don't think they took it seriously because no one got hit, there was no drink spilled, no purses. Unfortunately, these shows, the bar is so disgustingly low. Like, or high, however you want to look at it, where unless somebody is bopping somebody in the head with a purse, they're not taking it seriously. I don't think they took it seriously. I don't. And so now the fact that everyone's like, wait a minute, this is something you could probably sue over. This is a misstep. They're on a TV show, but they're working. These are employees. They went to their employer. They went to their boss and said, hey, I don't feel safe. This person said this, because at the end of the day, Brit saying I have a pew pew, that puts everybody in danger. That puts production and crew and the rest of the cast in danger. That puts civilians who are just at the restaurant or working in danger. Pew pews don't have a name on it. And this day and age, I wouldn't take that lightly. Somebody says they have a pew pew for people like me, I'm taking that hella serious. But I don't think the executives did. And I don't think they did a investigation, because now all of a sudden on Watch What Happens Live, Andy's like, well, they did an investigation and you didn't have a pew pew. But no, y'all did not. Again, this is my opinion. I don't think there was an investigation. I think they're saying there was retroactively, because Bravo and NBC don't want to get sued. This is to me, this is them watching their butts. They have so many lawsuits already, it's not even funny. I think that they did not do an investigation in real time. I think retroactively, maybe they did one, but not in real time. Because if they did a investigation in real time, how come none of the ladies talked about it? How come there wasn't one of those flashcards that said Bravo NBC did an independent investigation into Brit's allegations, Kenya's whatever, about the pew pew, nothing was found, so we decided to continue filming with her? Wait, 1 second, you guys. All right, I'm back. I have to get a cough drop because I'm talking so much. Okay? So, if you hear me smacking, it's the cough drop. I apologize. Okay? So, again, I think that Bravo, they're covering their butts. None of the women talked about Brit being investigated by Bravo. There was no break in filming for Brit to be investigated at all. And they break the fourth wall all the time. Porsha broke the fourth wall. Her whole storyline with her baby daddy and Drew is that she's pissed that Dennis wants to film and have camera time with Drew. Literally, we saw Porsha say, is it okay if I break the fourth wall as a producer here? And they're like, yeah, break it. So it's not about not breaking the fourth wall. None of the women said, well, there was an investigation. She didn't have a pew pew, whatever the case may be. No, they didn't skip a beat. They kept filming. Kelly went over to Brit's house. Brit's makeup free, pulling at Erica Jane. Oh, I'm so distraught and crying. I have no makeup on. This means I'm so distraught. Whoa, 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 whoa. Woe is me. All this crap. She films everybody else. There was no mention of any investigation in real time, because in my opinion, there wasn't one. And so now Bravo is doubling down on Kenya being the villain and she's wrong, inviting her to the reunion, uninviting her, this, that, and the third, in case it goes to court. Because if they acquiesce now, that they're basically saying, yeah, we did something wrong on our end. There was a misstep on our end. So they have to double down on Kenya's the worst and awful person for legality reasons. Because if they don't and it goes to court, that could look bad on them. But in my opinion, I don't think Bravo did an investigation on Brit in real time. Maybe they did a fake investigation retroactively, so it looks good on paper, but I don't think they did in real time. And I think they should have. Now, that does not negate the fact that what Kenya did was wrong. I personally think that if Bravo in real time had did the investigation against, not against Brit, but about Brit, I don't think that, I think Kenya would still be on the show. I don't think Kenya would have done what she did. However, she did do what she did. And I think that both of them should have gotten suspended. I think Brit should have gotten suspended, and I think Kenya should have gotten suspended for what they did. What Kenya did was wrong and dirty and hurtful. You know, it may not be textbook revenge porn because allegedly these photos are already out there, but you don't do that. You don't do that. That is just disgusting and gross and just horrible. And even this episode, Drew being like, oh, did you ever sell the cat? Yeah. Did you ever do corn? Yeah. Also disgusting. It was funny. I laughed because that was the petty part of me laughing. But the real part of me was like, that's also gross. Who cares? What if she did? What if she didn't? Who cares? If someone wants to be honest about their past or something that they did, then that's on them. But to try and dig up that and throw it in a woman's face is, to me, is disgusting. Now, I'm not the biggest Brit fan. I do think she's shady. I do think she's flip-flopping and lying and hiding a bunch of stuff. But I also don't think it's right to try to shame a woman if she did sex work. Who cares? If she was an adult and she was consenting, who cares? They're trying to shame her for that. Drew, girl, bye. I don't think that's a beat. I don't think that's funny. I don't think that's a moment. Well, I did think it was funny because I'm a human and I'm petty and it's a show. And the way she said it, did you ever saw the cat? That was funny. But the core of it, the emotional and intellectual analysis of it, that's wrong. Now, I do think Brit lies. I do think Brit was wrong for what she did to Kenya. I do think that she should have been investigated for the pew pew comment. In my opinion, I do think that she is in a coercive, controlling relationship, marriage with her husband. Why was he there at filming? It's giving very Kim Zolciak and Croy. Where Kim goes, Croy is. Where Croy is, Kim is. It's very bizarre. Her husband is in like every scene with her except for Nashville. She couldn't have a conversation with his own sister without him interjecting. Her sister was crying to her, being like, I can't even talk to you without him listening in on the phone. It's giving coercive control. It's giving unhealthy. It's giving some things a ticky boom boom. I don't know what's going on. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose people. I'm just saying what it's giving based on what I see. Okay? So, there's that. All right, let's talk about, and put it down below what you guys think, okay? Now, let's see. Now, let's talk about Porsha and Drew, okay? Porsha and Drew, I have the feeling something happened off camera pre-filming between Porsha and Drew for sure, and perhaps Dennis and Ralph. That is the true catalyst for the shift in friendship between Drew and Porsha. There's an elephant in the room. There's something that's unspoken. It's given, did they have a threesome? Did they have a foursome that went left? Did Porsha talk about Drew behind Drew's back and it came back to Drew and now Drew's on her get back? Something, it just isn't adding up. Like, I don't think we have the true story between the breakdown in friendship between Porsha and Drew, because Porsha is too, yes, Portia's doing a lot, but she's also too calm about it for there not to be something deeper going on that maybe she knows she did something. And Drew is too confident with it. Like, yeah, Porsha, well, I tried to call you and tell you, and it's okay. We can just be like, something happened with this crew. And the fact that Dennis is so gung-ho to support Drew in all of this. Do you know what I mean? Again, sorry, it's a cough drop. I don't mean to swallow in your ear. So, and also the fact that Ralph is so like jealous and into it, like something happened that they're not being honest about. I don't think that overnight Drew and Dennis were like, let's make music together. F Porsha and Ralph. I don't think that just happened miraculously overnight. Something else is the root cause of what happened between Porsha and Drew that they're not being honest about. That's just sort of what I land on that. Like something else isn't going on. Okay. Now, when it comes to Porsha and the dynamic of the other women, I'm actually really relieved because at first I thought that the show was going to be like Porsha and friends and it was just going to be a show of everybody kissing Porsha's butt. But I think what is so interesting about this group of women is that there isn't really a queen bee in the cast. Shamea, although she is very rich and I guess from like Havax in the airport, I don't have time to look into her husband's money to make sure it's legit. I'm just going to hope it's legit, but they seem to have a lot of money for I don't know exactly what. I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to let the LA Times, I'll let the blogs blog and I'll report if anything comes out. Hopefully nothing does, but we'll see. Anyway, I pray nothing comes out. I hope it's all clean and all legit. Even though Shamea has a lot of money, and even though Shamea is sort of the glue that brought everyone together, she sort of knew everybody and brought them all together. She knew Porsha and all the other people. She's not a queen bee. She energetically, personality, she's not a queen bee. To me, Porsha is like the cheerleader who perked in high school and still thinks she's the person, she's like the queen bee, but she's not. It's like you peaked in high school and now you don't even go here. Like that's the energy Porsha gives. And none of the other women bow down to her. And that's super refreshing. There's nobody who's kissing anybody's butt. There's nobody who's placating to the other people. There's friendships, but not true alliances, which is also really refreshing. Like, for example, Angela, and by the way, I love Angela. She is the standout MVP to me. She is going through, allegedly, in my opinion, maybe some perimenopause or menopause. She's getting the hot flashes with the fan and she's sweating. I'm like, it's hilarious. I'm here for it. She has money. She's quirky. She's kooky. She's like, what's going on? She's getting cosmetic surgery. She's hiding in Neiman Marcus. Like, it's so cute. I think she's really fun. She stirs the pot. She flip-flops. In 1 minute, she's there for Brit. The next, she's Team Twirl. She's all over the place. She's bringing Drew on Porsha's trip. I'm like, I am so here for Angela. So here for her. I think she's fun. I think she's a moment. I love her personality. She it's just like, what do you mean I couldn't invite Drew? You said I couldn't invite her. So like I invited her. Like who cares? Like obsessed. I love Angela. Now the rumors about her husband having a baby on her, who cares? Because I don't think Angela cares. And again, that's why I kind of love her like quirkiness. She's like, what did you hear about Charles? What did you hear about my husband? What did you hear about Charles? I'm in Oakley. I think she's fine. I think she's happy that to me, her and Charles give glorified roommates and business partners. That's the vibe rather than like husband wife. And I'm so here for it. I think she doesn't care. I think she's happy to have the money. I think she's happy to be in Oakley. I think she's happy to now have like proxy to celebrity. I don't think she cares. Angela does not seem bothered. So I don't know why anybody else should. She doesn't seem like because in some situations, right, when the guy has a baby on the side, the woman is like forlorn and scorned and like long suffering and is like going through it and it's like completely awful. I don't know if you guys watch Love and Hip Hop, but like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, like Rashida and Kirk, when he had a baby on Rashida. Yikes, that was horrible. Rashida girl, that's a whole mess. But Angela isn't giving that. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I just went and got Botox on my nose. I'm going shopping. Like, I'm fine. I am so here for Angela. Like, I want to be friends with her. I want to do brunch. I want to go shopping. She can get procedures. I'll get some facials. We'll be besties. We're good. Love her. There's that. What was I talking about before? It's one of my little like Angela love tour. I forgot. Anyway, let's talk about. Okay, so I talked about Porsha and Drew. Okay, Porsha, no queen bee. There we go. So yeah, so when it comes to Porsha, she's not the queen bee, and the newbies made that very, very clear. Kelly came out the gate with, "Oh, tell her not to steal anybody's man. Why did she steal that woman's man?" I think that Porsha lost all credibility when she got with Simon, because it doesn't matter that Porsha and Fallon weren't close friends. You went to that woman's home. You were in her face. And then you turned around 45 days later and was engaged to her whole husband. Like, what? If I work at FedEx and I introduce my coworker to my husband, and then a month later, my coworker is now engaged to my husband, that's a problem. So just because you're on a reality TV show doesn't make what you did not nasty and crazy as hell. And I love that the girls came in being like, "No, Porsha, you peaked in high school, and you're not that girl anymore." And I think Porsha is to me, Portia's sad. And I feel like Porsha sees Shamea, and Shamea has the life that Porsha thought should be hers: the rich, loving husband, the multi-million dollar, mansion, the babies running around, and, the fun and fabulous friends. But when you look at Porsha, she's now twice divorced. She has a baby daddy. I don't know what the money's doing. I don't know what the home life is looking like. It's kind of, and I also think Porsha could have had such a bigger career. I really think she could have had a much bigger career. I think she did herself a disservice when she quit Dish Nation. I think she could have done acting. She could have been like a Tyler Perry girl, or whatever the case may be. I think Porsha could have been such a bigger star than where she's ended up. Now, everybody loves a comeback story, so I'm not counting her out. Porsha's not my cup of tea. She's not my type of juice. But I do think that, everybody loves a comeback story. Who knows? But I think that Porsha is very sad and is very, very bitter. But the problem is, Porsha made her bed, so she has to sleep in it. She's the one who made those choices, and she can't say Simon duped her. This man was married. I don't care if he was going through problems. I don't care what line he fed you. Everybody knows the married man is going to get into your ear and be like, "Oh, me and my wife are separating. Oh, we're done, this, that, and the third," until the ink is dried on the divorce papers. He's married. Okay, sweetheart, stop it. And you were all in his wife's face. Stop it, boo-boo. Okay. And she even said on it was either Watch What Happens Live or on the show, one of the two, she even said that Shamea's husband, who is friends with Simon, warned her about Simon. Because Simon, I'll say allegedly for the last 40 years has been a scammer. Scheming, scamming, deportating, frauds, left, right, and the third. So if everyone is telling you, including his best friend who you were hanging out with, saying, "Hey, this guy is a scammer, something's up," and you lose him how you got him, you have to look in a mirror and take accountability. You can't blame, and I'm not defending Simon, trust me on that one, please. But you have to take responsibility for the choices that you make. Because the only way you're going to make better choices and have a different result is when you take responsibility and accountability for your life. Because at the end of the day, the only person who's making your choices are you. And you can't be like, "They made me." No, you chose. And I think that Porsha is very, very bitter. And I think she's very sad. Now, when it comes to Shamea, this might be an unpopular opinion. And I hope I explained this correctly. Like the title says, insecure women. Shamea, she has on paper everything. Has, 2 beautiful children, she has great friends, she has a loving husband, she has a ton of money, a beautiful house, but she, to me, is still very insecure. She talks about being a people pleaser, how she focuses on other people's problems so she doesn't have to focus on herself. That's from a deep rooted insecurity. That's being very codependent. You see that in her relationship with Porsha. Porsha dogs the hell out of Shamea all of the time. Porsha clearly does not like Shamea. Porsha's mother clearly does not like Shamea. And that's not my opinion. That's what they literally said on the show. Porsha and her mother were dogging the hell out of Shamea, being like, watch out for her. Watch out the one who brings the bone. When Shamea was defending Porsha. So, and then Porsha being like, that's not your voice when Shamea had her song out, because Porsha, again, was probably very jealous because Shamea has a life Porsha wanted. She's doing music, she has the husband and all this, that, and the third. And that's what Porsha always wanted. She wanted to sing. She wanted them to be married to money. She wanted all of that. And that's clearly not working out for her. And now Shamea has her own peach. So she's not a plus one. She is her own peach. With all that being said, I still think Shamea is very deeply insecure, because you have to be deeply insecure to still be friends with a woman who makes it very clear that she does not like you. And I don't care what anybody says, Porsha does not like Shamea. She doesn't like her. She thinks that she's better than her. She thinks that Shamea is beneath her. She likes Shamea as a yes person, as a lapdog, as a mouthpiece. But as a person, Porsha doesn't like her. It is so obvious. She does not like her. She showed up to her birthday party late and made an entrance when she was getting the Rolls Royce and made the moment about herself and not about her friend. She can say all day long, oh, I came in and had to do. No. If you were late for whatever reason, because people always make excuses for being late when there's really no good excuse. If you know it takes 2 hours to get somewhere, you leave 2 hours to get there. Okay? When you see her having that moment, you stay in the car or you wait on the side and you let her have the moment, and then you come into the scene. But you don't come into the scene when she's accepting the car. You want the moment. You want the attention. You don't want the spotlight to be on her. You don't like her. Okay? You don't. And I think the people pleasing and the codependency and the being friends with women who do not like you, defending women who do not defend you, beyond defending, Shamea always defends Porsha, but beyond women who do not defend you, defending women who actively talk bad about you and play the hell out of you. Absolutely not. You're not a secure woman when you choose to stay in invalidating friendships with other women. Hell no. Because no amount of money can buy you internal self-worth. No amount of money. Now, when it comes to Shamea too, and I like Shamea, I do. I like her. I think she's quirky and fun, but she's kind of corny. She kind of has a cornball energy. Like in the confessional, she's always making those like like weird faces and like Michael Jackson and singing and doing weird stuff. Like, I think she's nice. I think she's a nice person, but she's kind of a cornball. She's kind of corny, if that makes sense. Not in a mean, nasty way, because I like her. But she's kind of goofy cornball, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I kind of think she's a little bit of she's a cornball, you know what I mean? But she's cute, she's fun. I think she has a good heart, a good spirit. Shamea just needs to work on her self-esteem and being secure in herself, not being codependent, and really stepping out, because she has this sort of front of, I'm not the plus one, I am the one, and I can do all of this, and I got this, and blah, 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 and I can do this. But at the same time, actions speak louder than words. You're saying you're this bad bee, and you got this, and but your actions are revealing that you're not that confident in yourself. We can all say it, but it's what you do and it's how you show up that really proves it. So I do like Shamea. I just want Shamea to like Shamea. I'm also very confused and a little bit concerned about the children baby journey. I don't have children, and I am a woman that I have never wanted children. I will never have children. That is just a journey that I will never have, never wanted to have it, will never have it. And I guess for me, I just don't get it that if you already have 2 children, why is her and her husband still trying for more given the medical implications? How clearly Shamea's body is, not reacting very well. She did all the rounds of IVF and this, that, and the third. The last surrogate, thank God she, survived but had breast cancer. And then their child had complications, but, God willing, she's here and she's going to be healthy and everything, thank God for all of that. I just don't get why there has to be this continuation of we need and want more kids, more kids, more kids, more IVF, more surrogacy, more kids, more kids, more kids. I don't know. Do they want a son? Is that like I don't know. I just never get where it's like you sure you want to be a parent. Okay. You are a parent. Why keep the mental and emotional and physical and spiritual trauma and stress and anxiety and depression and all of that goes into trying to make a child when it's so clearly every sign is saying stop? I don't know. I don't get that. I don't get that. And I'm a very maternal person in the sense of I love children. Children love me. I'm an amazing caregiver for people. Just because I don't want children doesn't mean I'm not maternal. Those are two different things. And a lot of people who have children are not maternal. That's why we have children who are neglected and abused because they're not maternal or they're not paternal. You know what I mean? But I don't get that. That always boggles my mind. I don't get it. And I don't care how much money you have. Money doesn't buy your health back. Money doesn't buy your life back if you pass away. Money doesn't buy the health of the child. Money doesn't buy the mental and emotional and spiritual well-being of the mother or of the surrogate or of the child or the time back. Because Shamea clearly has gone through a lot. I don't know. I don't get that. To me, I don't get it. I'm always like, what's really going on? Like, what's really good? Like, what is the real driver behind all of that? Is it her? Is it the husband? Is it her? I don't know. That's bizarre to me. That's just sort of how I feel. I don't know. But there's that. Let's see who else is on here. I talked about okay, so Kelly. Okay, Kelly. I like Kelly. I do. I think I like her. I think she's sweet. I think she's genuine. I do think that Kelly is a lot more strategic than people give her credit for. I think Kelly is quiet. She sits in the cut. She observes. Sorry, not absorbs. Observes. Anyway, you know what I mean. She observes everything going on around her. She clocks people and she holds on to it. But she seems to be very loyal. She seems to be very fair. I'm still a bit confused. And I think there was maybe some shady stuff going on with her whole divorce with the guy who was like abusive, and now she still has security. But they have been divorced. I don't know. There's still like the timeline, the security of it all, the money of it all. I was reading some article and it seemed like they had all these like loans and debts to third party. So I'm not sure that, about the money and the debt and all this stuff. I don't know. Again, people who have these brick and mortar stores, these restaurants, these spas, these whatever the case may be, unless you're really doing well, there's always either a lot of debt, a lot of loan, a lot of collateral going on. It's tough, especially in this day and age, to have a thriving brick and mortar, even if it is a restaurant, even if it is in Atlanta. So it seemed like there was something going on. And then where was she, and when she was filming, when she had the peace brunch, was that supposed to be her house? Because I saw that she had to sell her marital home and divvy up the assets with her ex-husband. So maybe that was after filming. I'm not sure. So I don't know what's going on with Kelly and her finances and the husband who to me seems like an evil piece of work, and just thank God she and her beautiful kids are away from him because everything she said just sounded horrible. But Kelly herself, I think she's really cool. She seems to have a good head on her shoulder. I do think she's holding a lot back. I think I understand she talked about the abuse in her marriage and, going through all of that seems to be exposing a lot. But when you really look at it, what do we I still think that Kelly's holding a lot back. I think she tells you enough, but there's still a lot going on with her. But I do really like her. I think she's cool. And I do like that she came in being like, Porsha, you're not the queen bee. We're calling you to task. It is what it is. I do like that she was really, good friends with Kenya. It seemed like she was really there for her and understood. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I think Kenya was really going through it. I do not agree with what Kenya did to Brit. I think what she did was dirty and wrong. But I also think that Kenya was really going through something. And I think that Kelly saw that in her and was going to be a really good friend to her until what Kenya did. And it's hard to stand by someone who would do that to someone. It's just, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. She went way too low, and it is what it is. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I think Bravo now is just trying to do some damage control, because I think they completely mishandled the situation. I don't think they took what Brit said about the pew pew seriously at all. And I don't think they did an investigation in real time. I think all of that, I think they're saying that now to save face and to mitigate any lawsuit. But I think that if Bravo had done their job, then I don't think Kenya would have done what she did. But she did do what she do, and it went the way it did. So there's that. But I really, really do like Kelly. Now let's see. Who else is there? Cynthia, girl. Cynthia, same old Cynthia. Same old 50 Cent. Going along to get along. Okay, Fitty. That's really off the same old Cynthia. She's there. Let's see. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Let me see if I have anything else. Okay, so overall about the show, I'm loving the glitz and the glam of it all. I think all the girls are beautiful. I'm loving, I hope it's real wealth, but I love the display of like the luxury and the clothes and the style and the stylists and the houses and the bags and the jewelry. And it's also shot very well. Maybe they got a new production team or they got new equipment, but I also think that this season has been shot very beautifully. It's been shot very much like the Real Housewives of New York. And I'm talking aesthetically, because we know the issues with the girls in New York. So I'm not talking about the cast. I'm talking about the aesthetic of the shoot. I think it's being shot very beautifully. So I'm really excited with that. I do hope that they're able to sort of put the Brit Kenya situation to bed a bit, because I really enjoyed the first 3 episodes of the show. It was really exciting, but then the mood kind of shifted when the whole Brit and Kenya thing happened. Of course it did. So I wanted to get back to that fun, because I was really excited. When I saw the first episode of the season, I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. I'm happily surprised. And I'm totally watching this entire season because it seems really, really interesting and fun. So I hope it kind of gets back to that. I'm actually looking forward to them bringing Phaedra back. We'll see when she comes back on the show. Clearly she came back to replace Kenya as an OG, on the show once Kenya was no longer able to film. I think that's why they brought Phaedra in to replace her. And this is the thing. This is a side note since we talked about Phaedra, but she's not on there yet. I'm going to say this about Phaedra on Married to Medicine. This is what I think happened with Phaedra on Married to Medicine, and I blame production for this. Phaedra never should have been casted for Married to Medicine. Number one, she's not medicine. Number two, she wasn't married to medicine. This whole fake doctor she was dating was a bunch of BS, in my opinion. She should not have been cast there. And another reason why she should not have been cast on there is because Candy Burruss, not me, Candy Washington, Candy Burruss. Candy Burruss will never in life forgive Phaedra for the rumor I'll say allegedly started, right? We all know what happened. The dungeon. Will never in life forgive her. Ever. Why in the world would you then cast Phaedra onto a show where every woman on that show, save maybe Toya, is deeply, deeply friends with Candy Burruss? Not just friends with, but in business with. Candy Burruss and Dr. Jackie are in business together. They have a whole business of surrogates and IVF. Because don't forget, Candy had a surrogate for her 2 children with Todd that Dr. Jackie got her. And so, of course, Candy makes a business out of every single thing in the world. So her and Dr. Jackie have a surrogacy business going on. That's how Shamea got her surrogate, through Dr. Jackie and by knowing Candy. So Dr. Jackie has Candy's back. Okay? Dr. Simone has Candy's back. Heavenly is all up Dr. Jackie's butt, therefore she's up Candy's butt. Ain't no way in hell these women were ever going to play nice with Phaedra when their loyalty and allegiance is to Candy. And if casting did their job, they would have known that. So Phaedra, and I'm not defending Phaedra for what she did to Candy, because that was wrong. All day long, that was wrong and terrible. Okay? However, Phaedra was set up to fail because she went into a situation where every woman, except for maybe Toya, was actively preparing to tear her down because they are on Candy's side. And casting never should have put Phaedra in that situation. It was never going to work. They were always going to try and take her down. They were always going to try to sabotage her out of their allegiance to Candy. Because don't forget, Candy has a lot of money. Candy has a lot of power. Candy is out there. She is booked and busy and has a lot of money, and she has a lot of power, especially in Atlanta. They're not going to go against her. They're not going to buddy up to Phaedra. Because we love Faye, but I mean, Faye doesn't have the type of power that Candy has. That's my 2 cents on that. And I don't know who in production thought it was a good idea to put Phaedra in with those women and that it was going to be a key. And that's why you had what happened on there. And that's why Phaedra left and was just like, you're not going to play in my face. Because it was personal, and I think it was personal against Phaedra, and I also think it was calculated against Phaedra, and I think it was plotted against her. Very, very, very much so. None of those women were ever going to really accept Phaedra, ever, because they would never go against Candy. I would never go against Candy, and I don't even live in Atlanta. Okay. So there's that. All right, back to Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we'll see how Phaedra, goes into the mix once she's introduced into everything. But that's kind of my 2 cents in everything. Again, just to quickly recap, Porsha, I think she's sad. I think she's bitter Betty. I don't think that we know the truth about what really happened between Porsha and Drew. This whole, Drew and Dennis doing music together out of the blue. No, nothing happens out of the blue. Something happened, and they're not being honest about it. There's clearly an elephant in the room between Drew and Porsha. Maybe Drew and Porsha were hooking up and they had a falling out. Maybe it was a threesome. I don't know, because we do know Drew likes women, and we know Porsha likes women. I don't know. Something, maybe it was sexual, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But something happened between Porsha, Drew, Dennis, and Ralph, in my personal opinion, that created this. There's a reason why Dennis is working with Drew, and it has nothing to do with album sales. Something else is going on there. Like Kelly, I think she's holding back, but I think she's very strategic. 50 Cent is 50 Cent. Kenya, gosh, Kenya, I just wish she had healed more before she responded, because she did the absolute most. Shamea, I like Shamea. Oh, and Shamea, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it because Shamea loves to body shame people. Like the whole talking about, Angela's Michael Jackson nose, apologizing for it, but then being shady as hell in the confessional, talking about he and all her corny jokes. Like Shamea is so corny. I don't like short hair on Shamea. No, it's not. It's not the look. It's not the look. I think she should go longer or something. I'm not liking the short hair, and I'm not body shaming her. I'm just saying I don't like her haircut. That's all. So stop talking about people's noses, Shamea. It's not nice. Not nice at all. Had this woman so insecure, she's out here getting Botox in her nose, and her nose is blowing up because you're body shaming her on TV about it. Isn't that sad? Like 2 episodes ago, she's being body shamed about her nose. And then now we see her going to getting Botox in her face, and her face having a reaction to it because you made her so insecure about her face. Like, that's not cool. Do better. Do better. Okay. Love Angela. Brit, like I said before, I think she's a big fat liar. However, and Brit to me also, same note as Mia from Potomac, who I also think Mia is not going to return to Potomac. And, I think Brit would be better on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I think that would be a better casting fit. Brit was also supposed to be the host of a VH1 show that Stevie J was doing. It was called like Penthouse Palace or something like that. I think that would work for her, because she looks like she became, like, she did a built to body, like she wanted to morph into like a Nicki Minaj looking person, because she looks and talks and sounds just like Nicki Minaj. So I think she's giving more Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. She's giving more VH1. I'm not sure this is the group for Brit. With that being said, like I said before, I do not agree with trying to shame or embarrass or take down a woman for any choices she chooses to make with her body, whether it's selling the cat or not. I don't think that should be used against a woman. I personally would never do it. That's not for me. But I also would never try to dehumanize or demean or disregard or, hurt another woman because that's the choice she made, So there's that. I do think Brit's lying. That's just my opinion on it. But at the same time, that's her truth to share if and when she wants to. Nobody deserves your truth in that sense. She doesn't have to tell anybody what she chose to do with her body or not to do with her body. She's not hurting anybody. It's nobody's business. You know what I mean? As long as she's not hurting you with the choices she's made with her own body, mind your business, Drew. Okay? Are you selling your kitty cat for a record deal with Dennis? Eating some hot dogs over there for some record deals? I'm not saying you are by any means. But again, I don't think that's cute to do that to someone. Anyway, there's that. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm enjoying the season. I'm looking forward to more. So with that, I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up. But if not, and again, no pressure at all, only come up if you want to. I will take your candy cane